out. We can stop talking about her now. She's here. Look. No, this is third Zoom I've done with Jen now. I really enjoyed them. Yeah, it's just fascinating listening to you all really about the survivors and their fight for justice and actually getting to actually confront him, if you like they were. I've seen about 4 or 5 of the statements, but I'm going to watch every single one of them at some point. Sit down and just watch them all. Definitely going to watch Jen tomorrow, though. What time you want tomorrow, Jen?
Welcome to Mark's Zoom meeting.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
carry on.
He'll fry you up.
I'm like a warm-up wedding singer, a really bad wedding singer.
Sweetie, I so agree with that.
What?
You're so funny.
Yeah, I am.
Warm-up wedding singer. Okay, Mark, you have to mute first, and then you can unmute when you want to talk. But I have to get everybody to mute because we get that crossover noise.
Okay.
Mark can't find. There you go. He found it. Okay. Hey. Okay. Yes, I'm here early because I'm all wound up, and I just did a podcast that I need you guys to listen to. It's very, very important, but it's also really serious. So that's going to go up as soon as I can get done with this. I put up, so just housekeeping. Hi, everybody, as you come on. And if you want to show your little lovely faces, because I see friends out there. Lucas wave, that's cute. I like this. I love this so hard. You can't even know. This is like the coolest thing. This is my fantasy of having minions. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, well, no, might be a fantasy. I don't know. Okay, so yesterday's discussion with all its technical difficulties, too much talks about dicks, difficulties, and everything else, I just put that hot mess up. So it's up there if anybody sends a link or you're talking to somebody like, I want to hear it, it's up. It's posted as a podcast. It's up also on YouTube. So there's a YouTube channel for Lawyer's Daughter, which maybe we'll monetize one day. We'll see. My daughter thinks that's so cool that I have followers on YouTube. So thank you for making me look legit. Also, it's up as a podcast. You can listen to it in the car because why not? And we're all, I don't even know, here California's burning down. If you haven't heard, we are burning down everywhere in California. Patty, is there fire in Los Gatos too? No? Okay. So we've got fire in Santa Cruz Mountains. We've got fires in wine country. We have fires in Sierra. We have fires freaking everywhere, Mount Lassen. So we don't have sunshine. There's no sun at all. There's light, but no sun and we're all covered in ash. So the podcast, yesterday's Zoom is up. I'm putting up a podcast today. This is the one I hinted at last night. This is so important to me. And I actually did it over the weekend and it was obscene. I used way too much profanity. So I threw it away and I did it again. So, and I'm actually glad I waited because I think I needed to hear the victim statements to really make the connection to what I talked about. But it has everything to do with Michelle's statement today. So she was the last one for Contra Costa. She is not somebody who's been very public at all. And she has lived in a lot of extra fear, if that's possible. And so what she talked about today was that not only did she have to go through the rape, but she was also then libeled, I would say potentially defamed, and those words can be used interchangeably, but defamed by an investigator who wrote a book. So what I talk about on that podcast is what she's talking about, and it's this book. It is Larry Crompton's Sudden Terror book. I do not want you to go buy it. I do not want you to go buy it. I do want you to do the Google search for the Sudden Terror PDF if you wanted to look at it. Because if you're like me, you've got to go see it because you do. So there's a PDF online. I don't know that the PDF is complete, but I feel comfortable sending you there to go look for it. And I know I looked at it quite a few times. So just make that mental mark. That's the podcast I'm putting up after this. It'll explain what Michelle was talking about. And I go through and I read sections of the book for you so that you can share my anger about what happened to her. And it also happened to Victor. And you'll start to, I mean, yesterday we got a really good dose of where Victor's anger comes from. This will also help you understand why he feels almost like it's a conspiracy against him. And in some ways, I think it has been because he presents differently than everybody else, right? He's not pretty. He's not pleasant. He's not, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. He's no Bob Hardware, right? He spoke today with Gay. No, Victor's very different. And I don't think that matters. Any of us that watch SVU know it doesn't matter. Olivia has taught us that. So What I'm going to tell you is listen to that podcast when you get a chance. Ideally, I would love to you to listen to it this week if you get a chance. Share it with anyone you think needs to hear it, because it really speaks to how victims are re-victimized. And it also speaks to the insanity that I think we're still dealing with in 2020, which is kind of amazing, because we need to apparently go fight for the climate and everything else before we get to this stuff. But it's really important to listen to, because I don't think our conversation has changed a whole lot. I do think awareness is better, but I still think we make mistakes. And unfortunately, the police are often at the hands of those awful, awful things that happen. Then I will post this podcast today, a little later after it. We're going to see Phyllis, who is victim number one, the one whose hand I held that first day I went to court. I think that I mentioned yesterday, she's been struggling with cancer. That secret is out. We're taking her food today. I'll try to get a picture and just post that on Twitter or Facebook, because I miss her, and I'm sorry she's not able to be in the courtroom with us. But I tell you what, anybody coming to court, that thing is definitely a COVID fest. It is exactly what they talk about being the worst situation for COVID, because we are in rooms and we're piled on top of each other, and we could say 6 foot distancing, but you can't distance. I'm sure I must have other survivors on here. Chris was there's Julia. She was in the room today with Michelle. Hi, Julia. So it is definitely not the courtroom itself. So yesterday, Chris was describing it, and she said it was really close. I love this idea of perception, because when I walked in, I went, it's not close. But I was sitting really close to D'Angelo at the plea. So to me, the courtroom's kind of one of those, deep rooms. So it goes back. The judge is not where I thought he was. This is how video belies these things. The judge is actually kind of in a corner. I thought he was directly in front, but he's not. He's a little bit to the side. And then, of course, that L-shaped table where both the defense and then the prosecution loops around, and they're in line with the podium of that L. But D'Angelo sits, which, again, this is another thing that's hard to see on the stream. I'm glad I've seen both. D'Angelo looks much more diminutive. I could say small, but it's actually even more than that relative to his lawyers. So they don't necessarily do a wide shot, which is a disservice to us, I think, because the wide shot would show you, if you get a chance to look at a wide shot, really notice how small he looks relative to everyone else. He absolutely has, as I think it was Gay said, he just decomposed in front of us. I thought that was such a great description of what he's done, because that is exactly how I see him, as he is decomposing right before our eyes. Now, but I also shared yesterday, my lawyer, who never swears, who never says anything, and says, he's a fucking liar, he's in fine shape. Don't ever tell her I told you that. But when Cheryl Temple's telling me that, I know she's pissed, because this is a facade. This is acting, as John Lovitz would say. This is all BS. So keep that in mind as you look at him. I don't want you to fall for it. He's fine. He's absolutely fine. And there's no reason he couldn't be in Gen Pop. I don't know if there's an age limit. I didn't find that in any of the research I did. There's no reason he couldn't be, other than the political reasons. The other thing about the courtroom, well, they have TVs in there and stuff, but the room is pretty big. So we're spaced out in there, but then there's this anteroom. I posted a picture on Twitter today, because that's where I love that I'm going to say this. I jumped Paul Holes, but not in the way you think. Somebody said Karen Gilgraff would be jealous because I was going to make my move. That's what I tweeted. My make my move, though, means I was going to confront him and say out loud to his face that he lied. So I did. So it's like the universe, it had to happen, right? Because we're alone in this anteroom, which normally was really crowded, but it was between cases. And he was there for Contra Costa, as was I, waiting with Julia. Julia was upstairs or whatever, but she was coming down for Michelle's statement. Paul and I were alone. And I'm like, well, damn it. Okay, Jen, you have to deal with this now, because you're literally alone in the room with him. So I said, Paul, I need to speak with you. And he said, okay, sucker. And I said, I'm really pissed because you lied to me. And he was like, didn't expect that, right? Everybody loves Paul Holes. And so, except for Jen Carroll. So I said, yeah, you lied to my face on the 29th. I said, when I talked to you about what was going down in HBO and what you had said in the HBO, that it was speculation that Charlene was raped in the bed next to my dad while my dad was alive. I said, that is speculation. I verified that. That's my mom. I bet she can't get on the Zoom. Patty, go take care of my mother. Mom, I'm on Zoom right now. Can't talk to you. Okay, she's done. Welcome to life. So I said, you lied to me on the 29th when I said, you got to take that statement out. I need your help getting HBO to take that speculation out. And he said, I didn't lie to you. And I said, well, you said you would go take care of that. And he goes, I did. And they said it couldn't be changed. And I said, well, Paul, here's a problem. That's not what they said to me in an email. They said they talked to you about it and you said it was good. He goes, well, I still believe it's true. Sorry?
We're going to talk about something incredibly serious.
Oh, sorry. That's something else entirely. That's how funny. Sorry. I'm like, who's talking to me? Oh, it's me. That's annoying. Sorry. Working on my laptop is tough. Okay. So he said, he's claiming he told them to take it out. They said they couldn't. They said, well, I'm not lying. And I said, well, it's speculation. He goes, well, I don't believe it's speculation. And I said, see, the fact that we're having this conversation, like that you can't prove it and neither can I, tells me it's speculation. It's a hypothesis. It is your take on the situation. It is not, in fact, fact. And because we don't have a trial, because there's not witnesses and there's no evidence to support your theory, then it is, in fact, speculation. So he was a little surprised by that. I mean, I don't think he thought about it like that. I said, let me say something else to you. I said, because this is maybe more important to me. With great power comes responsibility. And Paul, I don't know if you have really accepted who you are now, but you have you can't speculate anymore out loud. That might have been part of your whole job. In fact, I would expect very good police people would speculate all the time. How else do you come up with theories, right? But I said, you can't do that anymore because now you're perceived as an authority. And when you speak, people will not take the time to go verify the truth. They believe that's what you've already done. So when you keep speculation, because then he kind of fired back and he said, well, Patrice Harrington was right next to her husband as well. Because I said, that's absolutely not his MO. And I was trying to show he was decompensating. And I said, see, but here's the thing, you didn't, because you didn't say both the Smiths and the Harringtons. That's not the sentence you said. That's absolutely not the sentence you said, because that would have actually made more sense even to me. But instead you said, in this case, unlike the others. I don't think he's used to, I mean, the celebrity hit, right? He ratcheted up like what happens to people. He got all this ability to have power and influence now, and he hadn't really taken in that needs to come with great responsibility. So he said, I'd never thought about it that way. I thought that was, I'm like, I don't know if he can blow smoke up my dress, I don't care. But the idea that he hadn't thought about it and that maybe I finally made that impression. So we talked a little bit more because he knew I was pretty worked up about it. I was also crying because I said, you know, it's extremely, extremely impactful to my brothers and my uncle to think that my dad lay there while she was being raped, could feel the motion of the bed. Okay, turns out I don't think Paul thought that part through either. I don't think he is a tactile experiential, you know, the different ways we have of learning. I don't think he ever thought about learning that when you learn something, some of us visualize it and some of us even can feel it. So for me, when I heard that for the first time, I was just stunned. I'm just like, no. That's like additional shaming. And I said, Paul, and I'm screaming this in the hallway. This is what happens in rape cases, right? I go, Paul, you have no evidence he could even get hard next to another man. And this is the argument we're having in the hallway. We were told to move further away. But, and he kind of didn't refute that other than to say the Harringtons. I don't know what evidence they have in the Harrington case. I don't know that case that well, but I just wanted to share this part with you because any of you guys have been following the story. It was a big moment and we agreed, like we left. I said, I thank you very much for letting me come at you because I did. And I caught you off guard and you listened to me and you took the time to listen to me and he stayed present. I got to say, he stayed very present. And I felt like in that moment, he was sincere. So I will now back down and calm down about Paul Holes. I have been disappointed, but I have to say, I give him hella credit for letting somebody come at him and he stood his ground and he listened and acknowledged what he didn't necessarily know. So that's the update on Paul Holes. The next thing that I wanted to fill you in, I'm putting my phone on Do Not Disturb. I usually do that. I'm sorry. It's usually the case. Other gossip. I have heard from multiple sources now, but I cannot verify that D'Angelo may make a statement on Friday. Cheryl's not in town yet. I would ask her, but she's not here yet, so I can't ask her. But that could happen. I don't know what he'd have to say that any of us would care about, but on the other hand, he hasn't said anything, so he could be anything. He did show up in that weird sweater thing today. There's been speculation of what that's been about. I haven't heard any answers. I just thought, come on, man, we have the orange thing. Can he just stay in the orange? Like, why does it always have to be something with this guy? It's always something. Let's see. And then I'm trying to think of what other logistics you might not know. So they keep the rest of us. I was with Julia this morning at 9 when Jane went up, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute. I was with Julia. They take us upstairs to the cafeteria and we hang out there, and we can only get the YouTube live stream, which is the suckier one. The KCRA stream is much better. We could not see Bonnie. We're gonna talk about Jane. We could not see Bonnie on screen on the YouTube feed. Did anybody see her on KCRA? Yeah. Okay, Jen, I see you. Yeah. Okay, cool. So on KCRA, we got to see Bonnie. I didn't get to see, I was sitting when Gase talked, she was just right there. Jane was right in front of me and Bonnie was just a couple seats over. But on the YouTube, you couldn't see her. So that's the note is then for anybody who missed her, KCRA archive of these statements, she should be on there for today so we can see if you want to see Bonnie. And I'm going to be quiet now because I want to know what you guys thought of Jane's talk and what you saw and heard. So y'all talk.
I'm just really, really glad that you talked to Paul today and cleared it up. I'm really, really, really glad about that. Really glad.
I know for all of you that have a picture of him up in your bathroom, you can keep it up. It's all good.
Oh, no. That was, that's enough of that.
Not the pin up. Okay. He's not your pin up. Okay.
Not why. I'm just glad that you did because just because. Okay.
So, okay. Jane was going to maybe try to join this call. I'm just checking to see if she did. I'm trying to scan through right now. My computer's just like losing its mind. Jane, are you on? Julia. I see somebody that I do want to talk to though. I'm going to skip ahead because we do have, and we have Sandy too. This is exciting. We do have some survivors on here, and all of you guys are encouraged to join us. In fact, let's take a minute. Any survivors that want to introduce themselves, please do. Just wave so we can know where to look because we have two screens we're toggling.
Come on, Michelle.
There, you just did it. There's Sandy. I see Sandy down the bottom for me. She was up yesterday, and I cannot for some reason. There we go. I'm flipping to the other page.
Oh, I'm not.
This is so cool. So,
hi, Julia.
There we go. We are not a technical crowd.
I love you, Julia. I love you too.
So, okay, let's go. So let's talk about Jane for a minute. So I had leaked that there was a big surprise and to watch. And those of you that are addicted to Twitter knew that was coming. What did you think? Was it the reveal that you cared about? What else? What did you think?
I wanted to know what he thought, but we'll never know.
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch D'Angelo. I didn't really notice D'Angelo. I didn't even know if he looked. Did he look? No.
He looked like he turned his head a little bit more, but the camera angles are hard, not directly now, but at some point, I don't know, but me and my sister noticed he turned his head a little bit more to his right.
I know when Jane commanded him to look at her and he's like,
oh,
nope,
he didn't do it then.
Not going to do it. Nope. Nope.
I love that.
That was really funny because I thought, okay, well, that's not happening. But she gave it a shot and she was very stern. Somebody's just asking about Margaret. I need to put these where I can see them better. Margaret had intended to give a statement, mostly. I'm going to go like 85%. Then her dad died. And so he's 99. It was, I guess, semi-expected, as we kind of have that way of knowing. And I go, well, it's 2020. Of course he did. Of course he died like the day before you're flying up. So she showed up today, which was cool. And she'll be there Friday, I believe. But I don't think she's going to end up giving a statement unless, Michelle, if you heard different, or Sandy, you heard differently. But I don't think she's going to do it.
I haven't.
It's not that important to her in a weird way. It kind of goes with being a 13-year-old victim, I think, in a lot of ways. Like, what can you really say? You fucking crushed my life. I mean, people are saying what.
Jen, can you hear me?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I can. I don't know if you got a chance to talk to Margaret. I didn't talk to her very long today, just a little bit.
I did, just very briefly. I don't think she's going to say anything.
Yeah.
Unless they allow her tomorrow. I think
Yeah, today we should,
Timing.
we're done with all the rape victims down.
I was surprised she was here today. I was hoping she would make her statement today, or someone could have done it for her, but
Yeah.
she was here. And she's such a strong woman, you know, she's just so amazing.
She's exactly the woman that would come regardless, even if it meant
Yes.
she wasn't doing her thing. So yeah, that's kind of how Margaret is. She's kind of like ride hard and die, and she'd be right there with Thelma if Louise was going over the edge. That's kind of a Margaret thing of hers.
That's what I'm kind of in my innermost thoughts. I think she might pull through and come out and give a statement tomorrow, because her dad died Monday evening. She was supposed to speak Tuesday. She's here. And I just in my gut have a feeling that her dad's telling her, say what you need to say, share it. That's what I feel. That's what I hope. But at the same time, she has to take care of herself.
Yeah, that's kind of how Margaret rolls too.
That's what is most important. Yeah.
Michelle,
Yes.
are you the one that said, I've been told I can't speak directly to D'Angelo, and the judge said, you can speak to him, this is your
Yes.
time?
Yes.
Are you the one?
That was impressive.
That just,
Yeah.
that was so powerful. I am so glad you did that. I just cheered. I am so glad you took that power and you did that, and that was amazing. I
wanted to acknowledge. I felt it was important.
I'm so glad you did.
I felt it was important to acknowledge the
Absolutely.
rules of the court that we were given, the rules we were given. You cannot talk to D'Angelo.
Mhm.
You can
I'm
only.
so glad you did that. I mean, you deserve to get to do that.
The court was not who attacked me, who raped me, who terrorized my family, and that was not who I wanted to address.
Exactly.
And so I
Totally right. Absolutely nailed it. I really enjoyed the guy who said a plea to whoever shares a cell with Joe D'Angelo in the future to wake him up with a flashlight, tie him up, put plates on his back. I absolutely love that statement, because
didn't think
D'Angelo's going to be
gentleman-
thinking about that statement tonight. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I didn't think that gentleman was going to speak. I saw him on the HBO special. I didn't think he was going to speak, but I thought, and he was so tender to his wife. And
That was Gay's husband.
but
Yeah, Bob. He's an attorney.
Incredible statement.
And what I noticed happened, because I was sitting like right behind them.
right
Is
behind
that-
them.
Yeah, I guess people saw me. Who knew?
You were right
I
in
was like-
front of me.
But the judge, when he said McGeorge Law School first, the judge kind of shifted. I think he didn't realize who he had. And then and it's funny because I refer to that same kind of thing in mine, because my dad and Bowman have a very similar resume. So that in my statement, I was intending to do the same kind of thing, make that connection. But I saw the two men, the judge and Bob connect. And then Bob didn't notice it because I asked him later, but when Bob did the fantasy sentencing and the fantasy Department of Corrections game that he wants to play, where what you just referred to, Mark, the judge, it's not the same in streaming as it is in the courtroom, but the judge like took his mask off and he actually leaned in. And I thought, oh, Bob, like you have the right guy listening right now. And you're making, and Bob did it. There's just really moments during this where I see the difference between men and women in terms of how that transaction happens, and how men Victor, now Bob, they have a little bit of a different language they use. We're so careful and we think of God, Michelle, Sandy, we've like thought of every damn word we're using, but the guys have this way of making it just a little bit different. It's a little more transactional and less holistic feeling-y. It's just like, no, here's how he transacted with us. Here's how I'd like to transact with him now.
Are you surprised the judge didn't or an objection didn't come up from the defense? Because it was a pretty graphic, like, I love the way the judge just let him talk. I really like the way the judge just let him talk. As you say, he took off his mask, he listened to him.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a brilliant statement by
So
that chap.
the defense. So the other thing I noticed with the defense today being in the courtroom, and I couldn't notice on streaming, and now I'm going to is that when Gay was speaking, Mark, I'm going to have you mute again. When Gay was speaking, because you talk to the screen, you have to mute, Mark, because you're a screen talker. When Gay was speaking, there was something she said. I think it was about that she was going through the statistics and PTSD and all of that. I looked over, and even Diane Howard, they were all validating her. They were like, that's true. Oh yeah, that's true. And I thought, well, that's kind of remarkable. And I don't see that on streaming the same way, but in the courtroom, I just couldn't believe I was looking at all three of their heads nod as she was just kind of going down her list of facts. And so that was a nuance that's lost on streaming. Although you guys, you'll be watching tomorrow too. It's funny because when you get in there, you start tuning out everything. Like I can tell you about every speck of Gay's hair. I can tell you about every speck of Michelle's hair too, because I was sitting behind them and like, who thinks you're looking at the back of someone's hair? But I was just like, it's if I could have my hands on their shoulders.
My
Right?
hair?
I know. No, it looked fab. It looked fabulous. Don't worry about it. It looked fabulous.
You know what strikes me is how every single survivor, I mean, I commend all of you, but Jen, we've talked about this before, how they would all come across differently. Some might be angry, some might be reticent or kind of shy or not, but everybody is so eloquent in their own way, but doing it for them. You can tell that this is my time, and to be respectful of the court, but at the same time to get their points across, but everybody in a different way. It's been really interesting to watch.
Sandy, how was that for you? Because what was it like? I mean, now you could talk about it like third person looking at yourself.
Yeah, so for me, I had to pull from the anger to keep the emotions in check. I can be emotional. This has been difficult for me. For those of you that don't know, my sister was the actual victim. She passed away 2 years before DeAngelo was caught. And so my mom, my niece, and I have been trying to be her voice, so to speak. So of course we went through it too. We have our own issues with all of this, but yeah, to keep from blubbering through it, I channeled my anger, which is definitely there. And yeah, I tried to look at him. I tried to get him to look at me. I showed him my sister's picture and yelled at him to look at her picture and to be a man. But no, he didn't. I think I saw a little bit of squirming a couple of times as well today. Michelle, you were amazing. You did awesome. And Gay and Bob also, I really enjoyed the way Gay brought the paper. And
that was really good.
Her teaching
it was
came
so
out
well done.
visual.
Just very powerful.
When she brought out the Ziploc bag too and said, this paper needs to be in a container. And I'm like, oh, yes, it does.
Yeah.
It was so good. Yeah.
It was great. And Bob too, as someone mentioned about the fantasy prison sentence. And I think that's what we're all fantasizing for this guy, or to be in a black hole and rats gnawing away at him. But, I could say some really crude things right now. You can all use your imaginations, but I know what I hope happens to him in prison. So yeah, I don't want to see him in some medical facility. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Dawn, do you mind keeping an eye on the chat and see if there's any good questions, by the way? Because I'm realizing I'm not able to keep up.
I have to say,
Oh, I
Sonia,
will.
you guys did your sister right, because when your mom, I'm
Sue,
assuming
louder. Talk
called
louder.
up the photo, that was really the most powerful part for me yesterday, because I was thinking, as a mom or a sister, to know she didn't make it to that time, that really kind of pushed me over the edge yesterday.
Can I also tell you the sister thing was powerful, Sandy, and you weren't with us, but over at Chris's house, like I feel like often Chris's sister gets forgotten and she's a victim too. And I think the sister part in particular, and the brothers want to go kick somebody's ass. The sisters share that emotional, and that like it was her and not me, that weird guilt. Like there's just a weird guilt. And I think the sister story is so important because sisters are everything for this. They just really are. And the guilt that like, why wasn't it me? It's just such a effed up thing that happens, but it's both the affirmative, like, was I not good enough? Which is psycho. We all know it's psycho. Let's just admit that psycho, but you still can't help having that thought. Why her and not me? So I just want to, I think maybe I'll interview Sandy for a podcast, because I think the sister story, a couple of the sisters, because I think the sister story is so important. And the faster you guys can let go of that weird guilt, like her and not me guilt, for anybody going forward, the faster you can kind of transfer out that guilt and transfer to them, we're in this together, is probably some of the secret to survival, which is no, actually, he's not separating us. It was against both of us. Like all of us were hurt by this. This isn't you versus me. That I think is what I see in the healthy part of the sister story now, which is, it took you guys 40 years. I know you didn't wake up and it was just all easy. I know it has to be hard. And then to have sisters die, oh my God.
Yeah, I do hold him responsible too for, people, what stress does to you and what you carry. And if you listen to everybody speak, there's so many repetitive themes in all of this. I hear all of us saying the same type of things. And yeah, to hold on to that. And I really truly believe that attributed to my sister's illness. She died of esophageal cancer.
That's right.
And yeah. And, like I had said, you carry all that in you, and, no family history, nothing. My dad passed away, and 2 months later, my sister got her diagnosis, and 10 months later we lost her.
And if anybody follows Louise Hay, she talks about where it's an interesting approach to medicine, but where you get sick is often what you can't, like one person had stomach making her sick, and your sister had esophageal cancer, like she can't say what she needs to say.
Exactly.
It's just an interesting relationship between what parts of your body start to have ailments and how that correlates to what you're going through in life. It's powerful stuff. You can decide if it's woo-woo or not, but I think there's a relationship because of how we use our bodies. It just makes sense to me that it would be a holistic thing like that.
Yeah, me too. Your voice, like you said. And I know her ex-husband and his state, he had a short statement yesterday that Ann read, and, I won't get into that, but he described it as stomach cancer. Well, he's wrong. She passed away of esophageal cancer, but that's an aside. That just bothered me because I was like, get it right,
Yeah, well, it's interesting to me too. I think Phyllis is struggling with liver cancer, I think.
Liver.
Yeah, which again is where we remove the toxins, right? So just some of these things just don't surprise me. It's like, y'all, all of us, I don't think of it the same way because he didn't rape me. I just always feel like I had this little protection. But it does still make you sick. It just makes you sick. The things you can't get out, things you can't express. Miss Michelle, you feel comfortable talking a little more? You have to take it off mute first. Michelle, I just did a podcast about the one line in your statement that talks about.
Am I off mute? Am I off mute?
You're off mute, baby. So
Okay.
I was wondering if you'd like to say that I haven't really got into details about our friend who wrote Sudden Terror, Larry Crompton. But I've told everybody that there is a podcast coming out imminently, like as soon as I get done here. I just got to go see Phyllis first, but I'm going to get that up. Do you want to say any more about that right now while you have the floor?
Oh,
Thank you,
gosh.
Sabrina. Yes.
You really put me in a spot here.
It's up to
I
you.
wish
You
I'd
can just say no, thank you.
I wish you'd given me like 2 minutes. But
Okay, take 2 minutes. We'll go talk. You collect your
Okay.
thoughts. You have 2 minutes. We're not going to.
Come back in 2 minutes because I have a lot to say about it.
Okay, and you don't have to go further than you want to go. That's really important. This is
I'm good.
because this is recorded and public, so I want you to be careful.
Good.
Protect yourself. So yes, I'm here to protect you too. Who else has questions to me? I saw one question flash, and Don, you can tell me, but I know somebody said, why is he wearing the face cover and not the mask? And honest to God, I think that he had to speak in Sacramento, and he doesn't have to speak now, so they didn't use the face guards because none of the lawyers have the face guards on, which is because they're really not speaking, honestly. And so I suspect that's the reason why.
Lucas, what about your question about what he said to his defense counsel? Go for it.
Yeah, that I was going to mention. So at the very end, and somebody had mentioned this, he was talking to his defense counsel. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but the person who asked the question said that he was talking about, he didn't want to look there anymore. He can
you want me to
run through their papers. So it kind of sounded like he was complaining. So did you hear anything about what he said, or, why was he treated that way? He didn't look at anybody anyway.
God, Michelle, you were almost the last one out of the room too, because but you were not in a place to listen because you were just recovering.
But I mean, he spoke he said several things to them.
Interesting.
It was.
Okay, we're now asking any lip readers to please go see the end of the tape.
Lucas seemed to think he knew what.
Yeah, I rewound it. It kind of came at me as a surprise because it was right as the live stream was finishing, and the judge said clear the bench, and the two lawyers were talking with JD in the middle, and you could hear Joe saying, excuse me.
Wow.
And then sorry, what's the gentleman's name? His lead lawyer?
Yeah, Kress, Jim Kress.
Jim Kress kind of stops what he's doing and zones in and is listening. And you can't hear everything that's said. God, if he didn't have the mask, we could read his lips. But
that's right.
He's clearly referring to, he says, I'm looking at the wall, and he says, you see those 6 spots, and he points to it. And he says, when I'm looking at those spots, and again, this is kind of me piecing it together. And he says, when I'm looking at those spots, I can see the victims. So it's almost as if he was complaining about, and he said, I can't look there anymore. That's what I heard. I can't look there anymore.
So that's
I emailed you about this again.
Definitely zoning in on a spot so that he doesn't have to pay attention all the time.
Yeah.
Although I do think every now and then he does listen, at least it appears that way. But I've watched now for 2 days, and I think everybody is so brave and courageous. And each one of them was perfect because it's for them. It's for the victims. Who cares what he thinks at this point? You can't control what he's going to listen to or not. And so I just think it's so cathartic for everybody. And the other thing that I'm so glad that there's a dichotomy of women and men getting up there saying that they're survivors and that he didn't take their life away from them. But there's also people that are saying, my life has never been the same, will never be the same. Forever it was changed. Because I think it's super important for him to hear the yucky part of it, like the 13-year-old girl, like all the women today. I mean, they all were so eloquent. And after yesterday, I was like, gosh, I hope he doesn't sit there and go, well, they all did fine. They lived their lives. I didn't seem to destroy it forever, so I don't have to take any guilt. Like I was trying to think of if he's listening, what is he taking away? Like, because he shows no remorse. And so in his mind, he has to spin it somehow in his sick mind. But I think after today, even if he only listened for a portion of it, he had to realize the magnitude of the destruction.
And it's interestingly going to only get worse now. Tomorrow's going to be awful. I'm dreading it because it's just awful. And I know Charlene's two people are going to tear me up, so I'm prepared for that. But I love that Lucas was watching him because, sorry,
man.
you're over here for me. The idea of him focusing on 6 dots, which really tells me how much his discipline, like, you guys think about that level of discipline. I mean, that means he's really for hours at a time staring at one point because he's so afraid that his eyes will wander. That's what he's afraid of. He's actually afraid of.
Because you see him not blinking for like, so when you are meditating and zoning in on something, you don't blink all that often.
Right.
And every now and then you'll see him blink. And I often am sitting there going, did he just hear what they said? Did they just get to, like, why did he all of a sudden tune in again?
Yeah, Victor got him. Victor for sure got him.
I think he's definitely listening for the end though, because I noticed, especially today, he knew when people were finished and when they finished up, he would kind of shift and like kind of get ready again or something. I don't know.
That would make sense. He could actually let his eyes kind of flutter around over there.
Yeah. I think he would then kind of like zone out. But I think there were some times when people mentioned Bonnie or when they mentioned daughters and granddaughter that he could not maintain his focus.
Yeah, Dawn spot. I physically saw him flinch when Bonnie was brought up the first time, I think.
You can see him breathing a little bit heavy too with his mask, I think.
Yeah. And I want to know if the 6 points were like if this was something that he asked for or if that was put there because they were like, we don't want you looking anywhere. Like, I'm just curious who.
Lucas, I'm going to go. I'm going to go look tomorrow. I'm going to be in. I go in first after break, so I don't ask permission.
Oh, look, I want to know.
I'm going to go look. I'm for sure looking. I was just realizing I hate talking at a podium. I'm used to it because I'm short. I always usually present moving because I'm short. And so that's one way to keep, it's also another good way to keep your audience interested. And I'm like, oh my God, I just realized, even though I've watched everybody do it, I've got to stand in front of that microphone. And by the way, you guys aren't even going to see my damn shirt because you're not, I'm going to be like this. Hi, I'm Jennifer Carroll. And can you see my face? So
can you wear a special shirt?
I'm wearing a special shirt, but it's not, I mean, it's no big deal of a shirt. But of course I'll take a picture so you guys can see it. But
I thought a couple of people were going to wear shirts and I was surprised that Jane, I thought she was going to wear one and I didn't see it today.
I didn't even ask if her luggage got here. I don't know if her luggage is here.
I thought maybe they told her she couldn't wear it. Okay.
Well, wow. No, I can't imagine.
The man was with it. He was with it at the end there. That was the whole point of me bringing up. The whole point of me bringing up that story, what I saw at the end of the recording was Joe is with it. He's got a clear mind.
Yeah.
He is not losing it. And then I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but when I heard that, I was like, it made me sick because it was like, oh my gosh, it's like off the record, but he's being filmed the whole time. And he's like saying, I don't like what's happening here, trying to control what's happening. That's at least the impression I was getting. And he was speaking very clear and pointing something out. He has all of his faculties. It made me sick. Especially after being.
He definitely seemed upset about whatever it was he was talking about. Like he didn't seem happy about it, and I was
changing his demeanor when things were over.
Whatever it was.
I love you guys in the Sacramento Bee that they'd filmed him in his cell. And he unfortunately was caught doing something on camera while a female member of staff was outside his cell.
No. That's not the truth. I actually
talked
about this on Monday. No. Here's the part that's true, Mark, because it's important these stories go out accurately. But he was caught taking care of himself. God, it was in the morning too when we heard this. But they said while he was looking outside of his cell, because this is all they can see from the camera aimed on him, right? So the question, and I told Sam Stanton at the Bee, if you want to get the real story, I want to know what he was looking at. Because there's theories that he's a repressed homosexual. I don't know if guards watch porn outside his cube. I mean, cube. So welcome to Silicon Valley life. I now refer to cells as cubes. But there is, they're only seeing that perspective. So we don't know what he was looking at. Somebody said that there might have been a female guard up there. That's gross. That's just gross if she was subjected to that. But that, I don't know if Sam will get the story or not, but I just want to correct that, Mark, because it was not, don't conclude what the hell it was he was looking at. That's the
Okay.
part
I was
that
just
is-
going by whatever was in the article, and he was walking around his cell doing pull-ups and all this business. And
Yes, and
it's just a complete act. And I love the way all the survivors that I saw so far, I haven't seen all the, are calling him out on it's an absolute farce. He's going to be remembered as a fake, sniveling little weak snake.
well, we've
That's
also
exactly
been
how he's gonna
told
be remembered.
with that we will be, victims can for sure see those videos that they cherry picked. I don't know if I can videotape the video, but I'll see what I can do. I mean, I know
wanna
they
see the
can't give it
interrogation.
to me officially, but I'll see if I can get a copy of that. So, okay, now Michelle's on the phone, so that's why she's like, yeah, she's on the phone now. But if she's ready, I know, he's not talking to you, Julia. That's the sister-in-law, Julia. Yes, go ahead. It's Brenda. Brenda. Hi, Brenda.
Hi, sweetie. The last time we spoke, we talked about he's doing things like not eating and not drinking in order to be more feeble. Is this been confirmed or no?
No, he could be. That would be an approach he could take. So I want to say that I don't have verification of that. I know he doesn't get to eat his treats. It's
No, I know
everybody
that.
keeps talking about the roast, and I'm like, does anybody even know if he likes roast, or is that just what he cooks on that day of the week? I mean, I don't even know. It's always cracks me up. I'm like, how does anybody know that's really his favorite food? But the point is, I was like, he keeps talking about food, though. I want to go add like 1.5 pages of just food talk, like pickles, cheese melted on a burger, chocolate milkshake, just because all the stuff he can't eat. Like, let's
Right.
know he
I
loves
thought
it.
the same thing.
I know, yeah. Ice cold beer.
I heard he likes red ropes too. I heard.
Oh, maybe I should bring some of those in and throw them down.
Yeah, take some red ropes tomorrow. Eat it in front of him.
Oh my God, Your Honor, I brought you some red ropes. Oh, that'd be good. I can't do that though. I'm not. That's a Jane thing. I can't do that kind of stuff. I will fuck it up. Okay, Miss Michelle, are you ready to speak?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So what this team does not know, what this crowd doesn't know, is what my podcast is about. Other than that, you were re-victimized. They haven't heard the details yet. I share that in excruciating detail in the podcast I'm going to post in a few minutes. But assuming, so just so you know, they don't know what specifically we're talking about. But you can definitely do know that you were in pain.
Okay.
Share with us if you could explain more. Yeah, we hear you, babe. So if you tell us about, so they know that Larry wrote stuff about you that was untrue. But your point really is that how that has added to the pain of what happened to you in the first place is that having a police officer who you trusted, who's there, who's supposed to take care of victims, did this disservice. Not a disservice, it's a terrible word for what this was. He basically
A disservice?
Yeah, he basically lied about you. So
he made, I don't know how much money off of his lies. He's lied not only about my case and me, but others. He's expounded. Okay, well, let's just only talk about mine. Okay.
Go ahead, girl.
Let's just only talk about mine. I mean, in his Sudden Terror book, which is like rated number 1 or 2 of the most authoritative books on the subject, I would put it at like at the bottom.
It's
because
garbage. Other victims looked at it last night. They're like, this is such garbage. How did he get this information? And these write-ups are terrible. So just so we're clear, yeah.
He took copies of all of the files when he retired.
Which is interesting to me. I mean, we've talked about this relative to the McNamara book where the files left Orange County, but here we have another investigator who's charged to protect the public, who's charged with being an advocate for both the people and victims to an extent that they're trying to solve a case. And he takes the files and then he decided to turn them into money.
A book. Let's turn them into money. Let's see what we can, and gee, let's, expound on some, how do you, 32 fucking years later, remember a conversation that you can actually put into quotes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of quotes in this book, but yes, it is. And that he does say that part of this is fictional and part of this is real, which is, by the way, the reason it should be thrown out. But
excuse me, but wait, well, let's, if we want to talk about that part, we can go right to the cops involved in the cases after I was involved are real. Their names and dialogues are factual. The investigations are real. The pain and terror may have diminished in the minds of the victims.
he's so
He's so caring.
So caring, yes.
I hope that the pain does not return. My intent is to tell the story without endangering the privacy or the dignity of the victims. They have suffered enough.
Yeah, so there you go. So one of the points I make in the podcast is this: if you're a police officer responsible for sex crimes, you better know what you're doing, and you don't ever add your value to the story in that you interpret the story for all your readers. Because the minute you do that without having, it should come from this victim. The minute you do that, it is colored now by your bias, your prejudice, your everything. And in this case, when we go through the content, and I appreciate Michelle, I do go through the content specifically so you can see how damaging it was. It basically, it's essentially him. The part that gets me every time is for profit. Like, he could have written this, he shouldn't have written a book for profit. I'm really questioning whether investigators should be allowed to do that. And I know we have some interesting people on this call who've worked in these offices and might have some opinions about that. But it's these files, these personal records, the description of what happened to you is not something that we don't share that information at our most vulnerable moment. I mean, imagine, this is what happened in Chris's living room last night when we were talking. They said, you're sitting there, the victim's talking, we're saying that you're naked. So just right there, you're naked. In the case of Kathy, who spoke yesterday, the boys came out of the bedroom for 7 and 9-year-olds. She goes, they see me naked. They see me terrorized, like I'm just traumatized. All I could think of is I'm naked and I'm like trying to get untied and everything. And people are just coming in and doing their thing and like all this stuff going on. And you're still completely vulnerable. And in that moment, whatever you say should not be something that's going to end up in a book later. And that's not what happened here, but I'm just saying, think about your level of vulnerability. I worry about what I say, and I'm sitting here knowing I'm recording and knowing things are public, and I'm still paranoid. So I can't even imagine if you come in at that level of vulnerability. And for Michelle, who at that moment, I mean, here she's got a kid in the house, husband's in the house, she's been raped, and Larry's decided in 2010 to go ahead and write this up, but to write it from his point of view and decide to interpret what she was thinking. It's essentially the part that we get upset about, really upset about, is that he is interpreting her thoughts, which is, by the way, not his job. And he did it with all the police pornography brain you could possibly imagine. And I'm calling it a police porn brain because that's exactly what it is. It's that weird thing that certain police officers seem to like, that's at the corner of violence and sexuality. And there is nothing sexual about sexual assault. Sorry it's called that. But there's nothing sexual about it, unless, of course, you're one of those kind of cops. So that's what
possibly he was interpreting it from his
there you go
brain.
Of course. In fact, that's what it really is. And that's why it's called police porn, because it's really about him, but he put it on her and made it about her. And he put it on Victor and his girlfriend and made it about them.
Yes.
So it's absolutely.
It was not just me.
Yeah. And I will ask, anybody knows an attorney that'll take their case. These two are ready to go. They're ready to go. So they would like to put an end to this. So again, when you hear that podcast, I make the same request on the podcast. Please come forward if you know an attorney that might pursue this, because it's absolutely defamation.
Absolutely. At the time of DeAngelo's arrest, I contacted many attorneys. And the minute I mentioned Golden State Killer, East Area Rapist, shut me down. We're not talking about it.
Yep, ranks closed. We know about the ranks that closed. But Michelle, how did you feel today after you did your statement? Because I know you agonized over it. It for you to get the courage to stand up and even just name it was a big deal for you.
It's taken me, gosh, 2 months, month and a half to write it. I've spent the last 3 days writing and rewriting that statement to try to make it perfect. And I still missed stuff. Like I forgot to tell him that I really wished him a long and healthy life.
Yeah.
We can all pray for this long and healthy life so that he stays very resilient in prison. I think that's
But
fair.
then we're also paying for him.
Oh yeah, aren't we? I know. That's another reason I want him in Gen Pop. Like, keep it cheap. He doesn't need protective custody. That costs extra. Well, I know. Okay, so I know we're coming to the end of the time. Dawn, if there's any other questions or anybody else saw any good questions, ask them, because I know you're going to want to listen to that next podcast, and I got to get it posted so you can. But other questions?
Yeah, sure. Why is it even up for debate where surely he's going to be in a general population? Why should he get a shred of protection?
You got to listen to all my podcasts, because it
He will not be in general pop. He
Right.
won't be in general pop.
That's a disgrace.
He will be an ADSEG.
Yeah, ADSEG, which is administrative segregation. And
That
it
is
has
an
to
absolute
do with, I do think the Pelican Bay ask was interesting. And I felt like the judge, because he heard that a few times, and I'm about ready to go add it to my statement just so he hears it a few more times. Because
Well, I have heard Pelican Bay is not the worst one anymore. My sisters all work for corrections, and Pelican Bay is not the worst one.
Oh, what do we want, Jim?
Not at all. Not at all.
What is the worst one?
Yeah.
Well, she was saying a lot of, she even said SAC is a bad one, but
No.
she said High Desert is a very bad one.
Ew.
But
Yeah,
she
that was
also,
bad.
and then they also said that the judge has no say in what prison he goes to. It's
Yeah, I
corrections.
think that's how it works when I did the
That's-
research.
Yeah.
Yeah, DOC does that.
But
So-
everything that we put in our statements is taken into consideration.
Right. Good.
Department of Corrections when they place him. So that's why I asked for Pelican Bay.
That's great. Good.
Can I ask a question?
I did as well.
Of course.
Yeah, Minnie, I just saw that, Dawn, from Minnie too. Really quick. I don't know who's asking the question, but I was just going to say really quick. The rumor is D'Angelo will speak on Friday. That is a rumor. I've heard it from different sources, but that's a rumor. And so I don't know if that'll happen, but you should be prepared. I don't even know if normally he could speak, but I suppose they do give him a chance if he wanted to say something nice, which is weird.
We know he pumps iron. We know he pumps. We know he's very energetic. He does his exercises. We know he does all of that in his cell. And it's on videotape.
Yeah, and we'll be able to see that. Yeah.
Which is what the prosecution tried to put into evidence. So.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, please, Jennifer?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry.
Susanna, is that you? Okay, good.
It's, yeah, hi. How do you feel about talking tomorrow? Are you nervous or?
You know,
feel
the thing that I'm not so nervous about speaking, because I'm used to, thank God, I'm not a public speaking fearful. I saw some people that were, and I get it, because I know people, it's like the greatest fear, right? But what I'm nervous about is, I'm nervous about, you're gonna make me cry, Susanna. I'm nervous about not making my brothers proud. So there you go. That's it.
Sorry,
they don't want to.
oh,
No, I'm telling you the truth. That's what I want to do here. Is like, because if God forbid anybody else has to go through this, right? But the thing is because we don't talk about it. They didn't even ask to see it. They don't. They're so detached from it that I know I'm 99% sure they won't listen. I don't think they also knew that I was a suspect because they were little when it happened, and it happened fast. And so my mom honestly sent them the podcast. That you need to see this because I don't think you know about your sister's journey. Because everybody with birth order, that birth order messes you up. It's funny if you get together and you're arguing, what you realize is you're arguing over different points of view of being raised in the same family. And it is absolutely influenced by your age and kind of how you, again, I'm going to go back to your lenses you wore. If you're a little kid, you don't get the sophisticated level of the conversation going on. That's why innuendo is so fun, because you only start to get innuendo as your brain develops and you have the capacity to understand what the innuendo is about. Thank God it's the lifesaver of any parent of a toddler, because they don't understand innuendo. But that's the thing. So I'm not nervous to speak. I'm nervous about letting anybody down, which is classic me.
Jen, you're not letting anyone down, period.
Thank you.
You're not.
You're literally, if you're just a firecracker of a justice firecracker, like that, you are just an ass kicker, and you can't think you're letting anyone down. You can.
I don't like thinking that. It's true.
I'm so proud of you, Jen. I'm so proud of you.
Jen, you're going to do a great job tomorrow.
Thank you. I see you, Julia, too. I think you guys, thanks you guys. You know what? I swear to God, it's got to be because I'm like pathologically extroverted, but I swear to God, I'm thinking about you guys all day long. That's why I'm reading and sharing stuff. I'm like, oh, they got to see this and they got to know about this. And they have no idea. And this stupid line outside the court. And if you notice the picture I posted of Chris on Twitter, you could see who's in the background. That's why I took her damn picture. I think it's the tweet that I said something like the five, I don't know if it was the one I put the 5 words, like I was trying to do the Trump cognitive test, and I was like, COVID, criminals, or whatever. There's 5 words that I did. But there's a picture of Chris Pedretti, and she's like right there. But if you look who's in the background, it's Diane Howard, my nemesis. So she came cruising up. But that line outside the courtroom is hell because, first of all, the guy yelled at us to social distance, which is counterintuitive because we've all gotten together. And Michelle, you missed this, you were a little bit late, but Julie and I, we're all talking and talking and talking. And he's like, get away from each other. And that's just not how we've ever lived. We are always on top of each other. And then the line.
I missed it because I knew it was going to be that way.
Oh, smarty pants. Yeah, it was. And then then you're just dripping by the time you get in. And then victim services yelled at me. Of course they did. Because I was like, you're not telling me what to do. And Anne got so mad. But then later when she found out I was crying with Paul Foles, she was super nice. So I said, I apologize. Like, I'm sorry, you just don't like greet me and tell me what to do, because I have a plan in my head first. Ask me what's my idea. My favorite advice. Always ask what's your idea. So there was one other piece of, let's see, tomorrow the things to watch. So in the morning, we're going to do, I believe we'll see the Snellings. I believe we'll see the Majoris and whatever that constitutes in a way. Oh,
what is the order tomorrow?
Well, the morning's a little cagey because it's Sacramento, Tulare. I think it's Tulare, then Sacramento. So that would be the Snellings and the Majoris. But Tulare will include the police officer McGowan, who got shot but not killed. So those two, and then Majoris from Sacramento, and then Santa Barbara. So that should be Deb. I think Deb's it. I don't know that anybody else, they kind of flubbed up the other. Well, there could be the Offerman.
What about Michelle Cruz?
It looks like that's in the afternoon. So then, we'll have lunch, and then whatever, because I won't be eating. But I don't have to be there till 12:30, so thank God. Then anybody going with me? There's some folks from Sacramento that are going to come with me that are on this call today. I'm so excited. Everybody going with me has to be at 12:30 at the county DA's office, where they zap your head for temperature, which I'm like, we're sweating. What do you want? We're all at 800 degrees. And then they check you in, and then we walk over to court. I'll go, I believe I'm first at 1:30, which really means it's going to be Ventura first, because I think the way we're doing it is it's going to be Jill Karen, who is Charlene's best friend from back then. And I know she doesn't listen to me.
I'm so confused right now.
That's the Ventura. In Ventura, we'll have 3 people speaking. That's
Tulare in the morning is Snelling and McGowan.
Yep. And then Sac is Majori. However you say the last name. I'm going to say it like super Italian. And Majori. Yeah. And then Santa Barbara. Hope, maybe Offerman Manning. I'm sorry, that is Deb. And Deb. Yeah, Deb. Deb Domingo because of Sherry and Greg. And
Hmm.
then lunch, then Ventura. And Ventura's only 3 of us. Charlene's old best friend, and she doesn't listen to this. I was going to tell you, I'm pretty sure she's the one that called the police on me. But I
So
wanted
you're
to.
your afternoon.
Yeah, that's
You're
at 1:30. 1:30, and then it would be Charlene's cousin, Carol, who might or might not be on here. Sometimes she joins. And then me. And then we switch, and then it's Orange County. And Orange County will be Shelley Cruz. I don't know what order though. I don't know who's doing what, but we have the Harringtons, Janelle, Lethune, Drew, I think will be there. And there's one more, Harrington, Lethune. Is there only 3 down south? Maybe that's it. So
It's
that'll be
it's gonna be a long day tomorrow, yeah.
Anybody for Manuela? Anybody for Manuela?
Drew usually comes. I don't remember Drew's last name. He was at the plea hearing, and he was also on the HBO thing, I think. It was Drew. Because his brother was a suspect for a long time. And Drew really, and then his brother passed away. So Drew shows up, and like Chris thinks Drew's awesome. They became friends. So I think Chris might be there with Drew. I'm not sure. I don't know how that's going to work. But so that's what you'll see tomorrow, and then it'll end when it ends in the afternoon. And I don't even know if the Harringtons are coming, but I assume they would be coming.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I would assume that.
You know what? They've
Yeah, I'm
always
listening to
they've
the
always shown.
podcast.
Yeah, Michelle's here. We saw her. I saw Shelley today.
Talking about tomorrow.
Janelle's sister. So that's it. I'm gonna let this wrap up because I'm gonna go over to Phyllis's house for a few minutes. But you guys, like I said, I think of you all the time. You know, as Philip said, Jen, it's like you're talking to us. I'm like, I am all the time in my head. I'm like, oh, I just gotta tell everybody about this. I just can't wait to tell somebody else about this. So it's meant everything. Like I know you guys. I just can feel you being there with me tomorrow. I pictured it. It's how I wrote because I'm like, no, these guys are with me. This is so powerful to me. Like this ability to know you guys know my back. I can't even tell you. There's not words to describe it. It's just incredible.
Don't worry about letting people down. You got to making people proud, Jen. You're making people proud. You're not letting people down. You got to think like that.
I know.
Right.
Absolutely. Everyone's there with you tomorrow.
All this nonsense about letting people down, please. None of that now. That's the last time we want to hear that nonsense from you now.
Well,
You're
all
making
you
people
guys,
proud.
to me, this is a beautiful thing. I just live for this. You guys look, all your happy faces, all your reassuring, solid. I know many of you trudge through your own battles. Like goddamn, what an army to belong to. Like, it's so awesome. So I'm thanking you tonight. I'm going to stop this meeting tonight. I will talk to you tomorrow. We're a little later tomorrow because the day goes long. But I'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk murder. And then Friday, I'm doing one more of these just because why not? I just want to have a week at a glance and talk about sentencing. And if D'Angelo talks Friday, could be really interesting. So
Is there anything to stop him from saying whatever he wants on Friday if he does make a statement? Like,
that's a really good question. I'll ask Cheryl that tomorrow. I'm gonna dig into this with Cheryl tomorrow.
Like, so when I just picture like when Jodi Arias was on trial, like she would, where they could shock her if she tried to leave. So I just think that he should have to wear that if he's gonna speak, and then they can just zap him into oblivion if he says something horrible.
Interesting. Okay, well
how are they gonna know what he's gonna say?
Different rules. I would love to hear.
Yeah, he won't. If he does, I think
would have to say.
so he'll say what he's going to say. But
I know. Yeah, I'll verify, Don. Great question. I'll talk to Cheryl about that tomorrow too. I'll see if I can get any scoop from Cheryl prior.
I want to know, Zach. I want to hear anything that bastard has to say.
Well, I think he should have been wearing a dog collar, and every time he wasn't listening to people and acting like he was falling asleep, they zapped him.
They just did that little bark thing.
Just, hey, hello, wake up, buddy. Pay attention.
During a statement, walk out. Turn your backs. Walk out. That'll send a message to him.
Yeah,
that'll send a
I'm
message.
interested. It's a big room. Friday will be a big, big room. So it's a big deal. And God knows he's probably never had that kind of audience.
Is any of his family showed up?
We have not that any of us have known, but I think he's been pretty adamant about that wall. Now, I did mention yesterday on the call, I have had a member of his family reach out to me, so I'm gonna try to talk to him, but I just couldn't do it right now. But once I get that figured out, like I said, I'm not putting, he wants to tell me some stuff, but I'm not putting it out unless I can verify it. I'm not gonna put anybody through unnecessary accusations. So I'm gonna vet that this weekend, and then I'll bring that back to the party. All right, you guys, wrapping up. I will talk to you tomorrow or online. Thanks, everybody.
Wish you the best, Jen.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.